You're tuned in to the Barrage Sports Show.
Yo, what's up, everybody? I'm Mike B.
Mike Burr.
April T.
All right, man. Andre Drummond is up for trade. Blake Griffin, trade. What y'all think about that?
Well, the Lakers need to get Andre Drummond. They need some help down low. They're looking a little small in the paint right now. Blake Griffin, I don't know. Do you think he could help a team win, like a contender?
I don't know, man. He's in his 12th year in the league. He's only averaging 12 and 5 this year. And he doesn't have that lift like he used to. We know he's a former slam dunk champion and rookie of the year, perennial all-star when he was with the Clippers, but I don't think he's that guy anymore. And the main thing about Blake Griffin, unless Detroit buys him out, you know, he's owed $36.8 million this year. And then he has a player option for $38.9 million next season. And you know he's going to sign that player option. So unless there's a buyout by Detroit, then that way another team could pick him up for some minimum type deal, kind of like the way the Charlotte Hornets did with Nicholas Batum. Charlotte bought him out, so they're paying him $28-29 million. The Clippers only paying him a couple of million. So unless Blake Griffin has the buyout factor, I can't see anybody, you know, going for him because he makes too much money.
Yeah.
Now, Drummond, on the other hand, I think a lot of people are going to want him because he's on the last year of his deal.
Yeah, and then, you know, one of the best rebounders in league history. And, you know, back to Blake Griffin, you know, I think, you know, his game was based on athleticism. So now that he's later in his career, you know, and I think he's already like semi-retired. You know, he's collecting that check. But, you know, you see him doing like comedy now, and he's actually pretty funny if you listen to him. So I think he's kind of semi-retired, just, you know, getting that money. But Drummond, you know, being as good of a rebounder as he is an instant walking double-double. I think and being 7 feet, he can help you with any team.
I think he can too. Because most teams, especially all the contenders, they could all use another big, maybe with the exception of Denver with Jokic and maybe Utah with Gobert. But the Clippers, the Nets, the Lakers, Boston, all the teams we see at the top that want to, the Lakers that are trying to play for a chip, they actually could all use a big like Drummond. And this year Drummond is 17 and 13. And for his career, he's averaged 13 rebounds.
Yeah, any team could use that. You know, you can't teach size. You know, that's natural ability and the tenacious rebounder he is. I think the only question is how much do you have to give up to get Drummond?
Well, Cleveland is sitting on a lot of bigs with Jared Allen, with JaVale McGee, Kevin Love, Larry Nance Jr., so they don't have to settle. Now, they're going to make some concessions because they don't want to lose him for nothing because, again, he'll be an unrestricted free agent after this season. So they're going to play ball somewhat, but they don't just have to take something really, really bad because they're still stacked with bigs, and they probably don't want to mortgage their future, you know, because he's still going to be an unrestricted free agent and they know they're not going to be able to sign him. So it's going to be somewhere in the middle. You're going to have to give up something of value for him, but it's not going to be a James Harden type of deal, I don't think.
Yeah, and, you know, since you mentioned James Harden, that's kind of interesting. Because in this situation with both of these players, you see the teams, you know, they set these guys down as they try to trade them, right? You don't want them getting hurt. You know, it's a smart move business-wise, but put it on the other end. What if a player says, hey, I'm not going to play until you trade me? The media will be all over it. They'll be eating them alive. And this is something that Draymond Green brought up. LeBron agreed with it. And I agree with it too. You know, look how much criticism Harden got for showing up to training camp, you know, looking like Santa Claus. But you know, he wants to be traded. But these teams are sitting down players to try to trade him. And, you know, they get no flack for that.
Yeah, well, it's really not fair, but you either play or you're an owner. So players have a legitimate gripe, but at the end of the day, they don't own the team. So the owners are using their leverage as being the owners. And to be honest, they do take the most risk because that $200 million salary cap or whatever it is, that's on them. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't feel sorry for the owners, but they do have a little more leverage because it is their team. And they get the greatest reward because they assume the most risk. What you think about that, April?
I would have to agree with you. I think that it's a business at the end of the day. And the owners, they are taking on the risk. It's their team. Is it the ideal situation for the player? No, it is not. But it's the nature of any sports, team sport business. You can get traded at any time. So I would have to side on the owners in this position because at the end of the day, it's a business. And it's all about that bottom line. That's just the nature of the game. So I really don't know what you can really do because that's just how sports work. And it's not the worst thing in the world. It's just a part of the business. Like even if you're not even in sports and you work for like a Fortune 100 company, if their office moves to Denver and you want to keep that job, you got to go to Denver.
Right.
Yeah, that's the truth. Yeah. And the owners aren't going to let the players walk around and act like they own the team. So they're always going to get friction. They're always going to get more criticism because technically everybody knows they're not the owner. So the media is biased anyway. And the media also wants favor with the owners so you can have access. So when in doubt, if they have to make a decision, who am I going to criticize more? And I'm a sports writer working in that town and I want access to the locker room, access to the players, access to the events. I'm going to be a little harder on the players anyway. I'm not going to keep criticizing the owner because the owner could just say on one day, you know what? I don't want that guy in the locker room anymore. That's it. You're done.
Yep.
So the media are always going to put more pressure on the players as well. And that's more interesting to the fans. The fans want to hear more pressure, more criticism, more controversy over the players as opposed to the owners anyway. Nobody cares about the owners like that. So, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, peeling back the layers of the business. And, what you guys said makes a lot of sense. And, especially in the NBA, superstars in the NBA have more leverage than any other professional athletes, in team sports at least. And, they definitely use that leverage. We see AD get traded. We see Harden use that to get traded. And, it's countless other examples, since LeBron's decision. Players have been moving around every year. In other leagues, it's a little bit more of a claim because, their contracts aren't guaranteed. We've seen it, especially like with the Patriots. They'll bench a guy and that'll prevent him from getting his incentives so then they can trade him. So in the NBA, your money's guaranteed. So it's like, okay, you got to sit out for a couple games and wait for a trade. In other leagues, that could be a bit more of an issue. But everything you guys said makes sense. It's a business at the end of the day.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. You're right. Superstars, because of the LeBron factor and the, coming up with the big three with him, Wade, and Bosh, kind of changed everything. Players aren't as loyal. They kind of, the ADs, the Kevin Durant's, they wield their power and James Harden to force owners to trade them or, make certain moves. But they're not going to escape criticism. The media is going to do their job and just going to eat them alive, start the controversial, stuff, start the rumors and all that. That's just the nature of the business. Suck it up. You're making $34 million, $38 million. Nobody feels sorry for you. Sorry, Draymond.
And so what do you think about, it's a huge injury in the league. You got Anthony Davis hurt right now.
Yeah.
Unsure about the timetable of his return. I don't think they could win without AD. And do you think what should they do? What should the Lakers do right now?
Well, all they could do is wait. Like you said, they're going to try to go for Drummond, but without AD, they're not winning the West. I'll tell you that right now. And people don't know their second lead scorer, Schroder, is out. But I think as of this podcast, he's supposed to come back on Friday. but it's very difficult to you lose your second best player and your third best player. But they just have to wait for AD, man. And even if you gotta sacrifice some of the regular season, like if he tries to come back, he should rush to come back too early because home court advantage isn't exactly the same because of COVID.
Right.
There aren't fans, which can make a big factor. I mean, you're still always better and you're still always more comfortable at home, but it's not to the level as it was in the past. Now, the only thing about it, though, if you fall too low in the standings as the Lakers without AD, you might have to play like the Clippers in the second round.
Yeah.
Or play Denver early. And then a team like Utah might be waiting for you after you get beat up by the Clippers or by Denver. So that's the only real risk. If you fall too low in the standings, you might have a tough, maybe even first round, but definitely a tough second round matchup.
Yeah, but I agree. I think they should definitely play it more cautious. But I will push back on that. I think especially this year in the Western Conference, like, of course you don't want to play the Clippers or Utah or something early, but I don't think the seeding matters as much, and I think that's why they can be a little more cautious with Schroder and AD. Like you said, because of COVID, home court advantage isn't as big of a deal. And then it's like, even if you're the number one seed, you may have to. Right now, the Nuggets are in 7th place.
Yeah, that's a good point.
They were in the Western Conference Finals last year.
Yeah,
right?
Now that you think about it, that is a good point.
The Blazers are their 6th seed. The Mavericks are their 9th seed. So it's like no matter what, it's no cakewalk in the first round, and because it's all the teams are good, your second round matchup is going to be tough regardless of where you seed. I think it's more about, how you match up against those specific teams more so than the seeding this year because, we talked about this on earlier podcasts. The NBA is really deep this year.
It really is. April, what you think about Anthony Davis' injury? Do you think the Lakers could even get to the Western Conference Finals without Anthony Davis? I'm not going to even say championship. Could they get to the Western Conference Finals without AD?
I think that the current state of the NBA, like you all are saying, all the teams are deep. And I think that if they continue this path without two of their top players, I think that they will not even make it to the Western Conference Finals. We have some really good teams on the West. The West is still kind of leading the charge in the NBA for the most part, I feel like. So I definitely think when a team goes overtime with the Washington Wizards, that shows you what their season's going to be like. And I think Andre Drummond can help, but he's not AD.
True.
So I think that maybe if they get Andre Drummond, they could make it past the first round in the playoffs. But I think that's even tough to say that the Lakers can make it to the Western Conference Finals. But LeBron has played on teams that were worse than the Lakers.
True.
And he would still make it to the NBA Finals. So you can't count him out. So that's kind of like, well, it's like, yeah, I can't see it. But then it's like LeBron has done that with Mo Williams on his team. So it's still like a possibility.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, with LeBron, it's a possibility. But, it's kind of, you say something about the Wizards. I just want to kind of throw out, the Wizards have been giant killers. They beat the Nets, they beat the Lakers, they beat the Celtics. Like, sometimes they get waxed by a scrubby team, but they've beat some big teams this year.
That's true,
They've been lion killers this year, but they're still, not having a great season.
Yeah, and that just speaks to the depth of the NBA. They're 13th place in the East, but you got 2 All-Stars there. You got Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal, so that's still a good. I mean, I won't say they're a good overall team, but it's no cakewalk playing them. I think LeBron has definitely carried teams before, but it's that's a lot to ask. At this age. He's been playing a lot more minutes, so they're gonna need AD healthy. They're gonna need Schroder, and then if they make a trade, to get some other guy like Drummond, I think they're gonna need all the pieces in place because the West is tough, and then whoever comes out the East is gonna be tough too.
Well, the good news, they still have Paul Gasol.
Marc Gasol.
Marc Gasol, man.
Paul might be better right now.
Right,
I don't know.
exactly.
Maybe.
But anyway, and you know what? LeBron, 35,000 points. 35,000 points. Number 3 scorer in the history of the NBA. Is he going to break the record? Is he a greater scorer than Kobe? Is he a greater scorer than Mike? We got to chop it up. What do y'all think about that? 35,000 points as of this right now, this season for LeBron James.
Congrats to LeBron for his accomplishment. That's definitely crazy. I do think he will, when it's all said and done, it doesn't look like it's stopping anytime soon. So I think he's going to probably be top 10 in like every stat in the NBA.
Yeah.
And I think he'll have that number 1 spot in total points.
So you think he could do it? Did you know LeBron is the only player with 35,000 points, 9,000 rebounds, 9,000 assists, and soon he'll be 35, 10, and 10. Wow. 10,000, 10,000. Nobody else has that. But let me try to give you some context, because I want to hear from April about this to see if he can catch Kareem. Kareem is the all-time leading scorer. Kareem has 38,000. LeBron has 35. If LeBron plays all the games this year and averages 25, second is Karl Malone with 36,000. So let me just kind of hear what you guys think after you hear this. If LeBron plays all 72 games and he averages 25 a game, he would still need a third of the next season, a little less than a third of the next season, to pass Karl Malone. And still averaging in the 20s. Then to catch Kareem in the 21-22 season, who has 38,000, if he plays 82 games and he averages 25, he will still need to go into the 22-23 season, averaging about 20 to pass Kareem. So to make a long story short, to pass Kareem, he would need to stay in that 25-point game range, and he's done that every year except for his rookie year. And he would have to do that through the 22-23 season. Early in the 22-23 season, he'll finally pass Kareem.
So what's that? That's two more years, basically.
Basically 2 more years. But he got to stay at around 25 a year, and play all the games.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what he has to do. He's got to play all the games and still average 25 points a game. He's a career average 27-point a game scorer, so he'll have to basically keep that pace for a couple of more years and not missing games like he does now. So do you think he could pass Kareem?
Yeah, I think he could definitely do that. I mean, there's no signs of slowing down right now for Brian. I can see him playing 3 to 5 more seasons. So even if he doesn't play every game or whatever it may be, I think he could definitely get it by the time he decides to hang him up.
Now, that'll help him, right? If he plays longer, then the averages could go down, the games could go down. But that's a big ask. That might push it to like 24, 25.
Yeah, I mean, do you think he don't look old to me?
Yeah, he's not showing any signs.
And but back to your original question, is he a better scorer than Jordan or Kobe? As impressive as the numbers are, you got to go at the eye test, and I got to say no. Because to me, as great as LeBron is at putting the ball in the basket, he's still not a scorer. If somebody had to hit a shot, game on the line, LeBron wouldn't be the first person I would pick. And I think for many basketball fans, he wouldn't be as great as he is, he wouldn't be the first name that comes to mind. I'd much rather have look, he just missed some game tying free throws a couple games ago.
He's not a good free throw shooter.
He struggled at the free throw line. He's got a lot of criticism for passing up late game shots. He always makes the best basketball decision, but that scoring mentality, that situation, right? We've seen Jordan average 35 in the season. We've seen Kobe do the same thing. I think, they're true scorers. They're go get it type players. LeBron is a facilitator at heart, but he's just so good he can put up points as well.
But he's averaged 27 for his career.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the stats are impressive, but
he's won the scoring title before. A lot of people forget that.
Yeah, he did. But I still, to say he's a better scorer than Jordan, no. Better than Kobe, no.
What you think, April? Do you think Bron, and let me put an if on there too, because I don't want to just leave it. It seems a little too obvious if I leave it flat. If he passes Kareem, the 38,000, he might hit 40,000. Is he a greater scorer than all of them, to be honest, including Kobe and Jordan?
I would have to agree with Mike Burr on this. And even if he does surpass Kareem's record and he has the most points ever in the NBA, he's not a scorer. He just has, I think it's a great argument to say he probably has the highest basketball IQ in the history of the game, which has led him to get those points. But down in the clutch, that's not the player that comes first to my mind. If I could think of all the players in the history of the NBA,
but he hit a lot of game winners though.
But but when it comes to like who would you want down in the clutch, it's Game 6 NBA Finals, and you got choice Kobe, Michael Jordan, LeBron. LeBron's going to be in third place for me.
Okay, well let me ask y'all. That's a good lead in. Who would you take in the order? Game on the line, Game 7, NBA Finals. Who would you want taking that last shot? Jordan, Kobe, LBJ, Mike Burke?
I mean, I think April got the order right. Jordan, Kobe, and then Bron. You got to take Jordan first. I mean, 6-6 in the finals. The GOAT, and then you got to take Kobe next. And then Bron, like you said, he's, and don't get me wrong, like, there's no disrespect. He's hit a lot of game winners. He's made a lot of big plays, but he just doesn't have that killer instinct. If I was betting on the game or something, I'm putting my money on Jordan.
Now with that, saying he doesn't, I think he does have a killer instinct. I think he just has a different killer instinct.
What does that mean?
Well, I think LeBron, honestly, on the court, he's more just a nice guy. I think that Jordan and Kobe were like mean.
Exactly.
And right. Well, maybe that's the point. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess that's the point. Yeah, well, and you know what? To be honest, now that you guys kind of put it that way, I do have to agree with you that, LBJ, IQ-wise, I think is the greatest, along with like Bill Russell. But I think he can do it, man. I'm rooting for him to do it. I want him to pass that scoring
Yeah, same
record.
here.
I love Kareem, but it's just to be nice to see somebody else break that record. But he definitely gonna catch Karl Malone. He definitely gonna catch Karl Malone, number 2. Yeah.
Yeah, so since we're talking about the NBA right now, just want to talk a little bit about LeBron and what he tweeted last night. So they had the coaches made their NBA All-Star reserve teams, and they have some great players that they selected for the reserves. And Anthony Davis is hurt, but somehow the coaches still picked him to be on the reserve over Devin Booker. And it was all this controversy on Twitter, and people were like, the fans were like, whoa, no Devin Booker?
Yeah.
On reserves? And then LeBron tweeted, Devin Booker is the most disrespected player in the NBA right now. And then he said Dame Dollar is next. So because of Anthony Davis's injury, it was updated a couple hours ago that Devin Booker is now going to be on the reserve list in replace of Anthony Davis.
Okay. Well, you know what? That Dame Dollar quote, I have to disagree. He's not going to start over Steph Curry and Luka Doncic. That's the only problem with Dame Dollar. He has two of the top 4 or 5 most popular guys in the NBA ahead of him.
Yeah.
So sorry, Dame. And don't get me wrong, he's a flat out baller. But he's not going to start in that backcourt before Curry and Luka Doncic. And he's lucky he even made it this year, because if Harden was still in the West, right? And if Klay Thompson was healthy this year, he wouldn't have had a spot. So no disrespect to Dame. I'm not saying he's not an all-star. He has mad all-star game. But unfortunately for him, he has some of the most popular, fan-friendly, and flat-out baller guards in front of him. So that's just something he's going to have to deal with. But Clay's not there. James Harden leaving helped Dame this year. And it's kind of sad to say that, but true.
Yeah, and I agree with this tweet though. Devin Booker, I think it was disrespectful. Anthony Davis, he's been dealing with injuries. He's having kind of a down year. He's not even playing right now. And he's having a down year by his standards. He's only averaging 22-8. And I mean, I know that's still great, but that's not Anthony Davis caliber numbers. And when you look at Devin Booker, he has the Suns in 4th place in the Western Conference. They're 20-10. He's dropping 24 a night. He's hitting big shots. He's definitely stepped up his play on the defensive end. I think getting Chris Paul has really helped his mental toughness and all that. So he's really hooping. I think that was disrespectful that he barely got in the game. But yeah, what you said about Dame is true. He's not gonna start over Curry and Luka Doncic. They're more popular and they're better players.
But I don't think AD had Devin Booker's spot. The guy on his team, CP3, has a spot. How you gonna pick CP3 from the Phoenix Suns over Devin Booker? So Anthony Davis could be on there because we know he kind of got a Lifetime Achievement Award to be on there. And we know what Anthony Davis is capable of, so they didn't want to, when they were picking, they didn't want to punish him for an injury. CP3 shouldn't have been on that team. If you're not going to pick Devin Booker. If you're going to take somebody else Phoenix, you got to take Devin Booker, not CP3. But CP3 got the Lifetime Achievement Award. So I think it's mixed up. I think the disrespect is the fact that they picked somebody from Phoenix and it wasn't Devin Booker as opposed to picking AD.
I will push back on that because, well, okay, yes, CP3, it is a lot to do based off of how historically great he's been throughout his career. But the Phoenix Suns only won 34 games last year, and they already won 20. And you saw what he did with OKC last year, too. He made them a playoff team, and now he's doing the same thing with the Suns. And I know, numbers-wise, he's not the most impressive right now, but he does a lot of stuff that shows up not from a leadership standpoint, stuff that doesn't show up on a stat sheet. And he's still averaging 16 with 8 assists, 5 rebounds. So I know it's not all-star caliber numbers, but turning that team around is just as much Devin Booker and CP3.
No, don't get me wrong. I totally agree with that. But, leadership and stuff that don't show up on the stat book, phooey. The franchise guy on that team and the best player on that team is Devin Booker. And Monty Williams got the momentum going last year, and it started to click in the bubble. They were 8-0 in the bubble, and I think that might have been a reason why CP3 was willing to go there. And again, I'm not trying to take anything away from CP3, but in my opinion, if you had to pick an all-star off the Phoenix Suns, you got to pick Devin Booker, not CP3, but CP3 got the Lifetime Achievement Award, in my opinion.
I disagree. I think that CP3 should have been picked over Devin Booker if we had to pick, if it was let's say, one person from each team or something like that. I would have picked CP3 over Devin Booker just for his name. And yes, Devin Booker had this great run in the bubble last season, and he's playing great this season. But at the end of the day, it's all about what you have done in the past. Devin Booker, they didn't make the playoffs last year. They just had a miracle run in the bubble, which shows great talent potential, but you got to make it to the next step. You got to take it to the next level. So I think this is a good thing for Devin Booker because I think mentally, he's an NBA player. He's an athlete. So this is going to cause him to go even harder. So actually, I'm looking forward to this. I'm kind of glad he got snubbed in a little bit because now I'm ready to see how he's going to be in this last half of the NBA season. So I'm looking forward to seeing the Suns. And then they have this more mature superstar who's been to the playoffs to kind of help guide them through this season.
Well, with that logic, then technically he kind of wasn't disrespected then. It is what it is, right?
Yeah.
If you kind of use that logic.
I think they both should be in there. I think it makes sense, and I think AD's one of my favorite players, but he's been hurt, and he even when he was healthy, he wasn't playing the same. I think this should have been his year to sit out, and I think you should have both of them in there.
That's like putting like Klay Thompson on the reserve list. Like when I saw that, I was just like, okay. Now I do think Devin Booker should have been, I guess, replaced instead of like AD. Like Devin Booker should have been reserved for that. But to say CP3 shouldn't have been a reserve player, I would disagree with that.
Okay.
And then another snub on the other team in the Eastern Conference, no Trae Young.
No Trae, yeah.
I was surprised to see that. I mean, obviously one of the most exciting players, marketable, and he's dropping 27 a night. I know his team isn't the best right now, but still, you think of an all-star, I would think Trae Young is in that conversation.
Okay, but if Trae Young's going to be on the team, who goes out?
Well, you got Vujovic from Orlando. He's a
big though.
Yeah, so you have to take a guard out. Man.
Bradley Beal's staying in. He's not going to replace Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
Who else? Who else you think he could take out?
Okay, so that's a good question because you got Jaylen Brown, you got James Harden, you got Zach LaVine, and Ben Simmons, and Jason Tatum. To me, I'm taking out Ben Simmons. Sorry.
Ben is having a great year. Ben might win. He should have won Defensive Player of the Year last year. He might be Defensive Player of the Year this year. And Ben is having a great year, man. Phillies.
Guess what? You don't play defense in the All-Star game. Give me Trae Young shooting from half court.
Okay, well, that's a good point. But I don't know. Ben is having a great year, man. I'm surprised
he's
you would
having a
pick
great
Ben.
year. And go ahead.
I think with Trae, yes, if we look at numbers and stats, he should have been on reserve list, but I think this isn't a case where his team kind of hurt him. He's playing for the Atlanta Hawks. When was the last time, honestly, anybody's checking for the Atlanta Hawks? Let's just keep it a buck.
Yeah, they a little buzz.
They had a little buzz, but, no one's checking for the Hawks. I think in that instance, I think that's what hurt him. It's Atlanta.
Yeah. But a lot of people saying that Sabonis should be there too. Sabonis, Indiana. Because he's having a real good year. They think Vukovic should get niche for Sabonis. But that's the all-star, man. It's always going to be some player that deserves it is always going to be odd man out because you only can have so many guys.
Yeah.
And Trae is balling. And some people might even say our homeboy, I hate to say this, it makes my body shake a little bit. You might even say Zach LaVine. I'm glad Zach is in though, because Zach.
Zach deserves it. He's dropping 28, 5, and 5.
Oh no, Zach has been balling.
Defense.
I say he deserves it, but some people might say because of the name recognition, Trae is more popular than Zach with the younger crowd that they might want him instead of Zach. But I think Zach definitely played himself into the All-Star game this year.
So you're saying that Trae Young is more popular than Zach LaVine?
I think so.
For sure. We live in Chicago, so we get a little more hype. But I do think nationally and internationally, I think Trae Young is more popular.
Okay.
Yeah. Even with the dunk contest, him coming to the Bulls and the Bulls just not being watchable like the first 3 seasons he was there, kind of took that shine off. The Bulls are actually watchable this year because I was talking to one of our winners and he was kind of like, man, I can't even watch the Bulls. And I'm like, this is not that season. You can actually watch a Bulls game this year, win or lose. They play some good, solid basketball.
Yeah, they're playing hard on both ends. They got young players and they're scrappy. And Billy Donovan has them hooping. And right now we're a playoff team. We're in the AC. So
yeah, and that's what I was telling our winner. I said it's not like the last 3 or 4 seasons. You watch the Bulls and most of the time they lost, but you were just like, oh, that was awful. Now you could watch the Bulls win or lose. They have some real entertaining games, man. And so after watching the game, you feel good. Like, man, that was some good hoops tonight, man. And like I say, and Zach LaVine, like I said, I wasn't dissing my homeboy. I was just trying to make a popularity point. he is a bona fide all-star, no doubt about it. And you know he has one more year left on his deal, so it's going to be interesting what the Bulls are going to do because this year, you know, I wonder if they're going to try to max him coming into next year before he goes into his last year of his contract, or if the Bulls going to just let it play out and let him go into unrestricted free agency. Because I could see a lot of teams checking for Zach LaVine, but he has one more year to go. So, you know, that's just how it is. Do you think he should sign a max with the Bulls if they offer it to him at the end of the season? Would you do it if you were Zach LaVine?
Yes.
Yes, he's not in a position like Harden where you've signed 2 or 3 like amazing deals. He's still like a young player, and I think he's in a position where he just needs to follow that max contract.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know he's had some scary injuries in the past, so you know you could bet on yourself and play that year, and then potentially get a max. But you know, to get the super max by staying with your team, I think I would take that.
So you would go bird in the hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't want a Dak Prescott situation where you kind of negotiate and then you know an unfortunate injury happens.
Yeah, that'd be pretty ugly. But yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy for Zach though. You got any more hot takes, April, over there?
Yeah, so transitioning to football, we're going to talk about prime time. Deion Sanders, he had his first head coaching debut with Jackson State University, HBCU. They won their first game, 53-0 win over Edward Waters College. It was a great game, obviously, clearly, when you beat a team like that. And what made it even more cool is that Troy Aikman, Hall of Famer, former teammate Deion Sanders, they won a Super Bowl ring together, showed up at the game. Deion said it brought him to tears because it was just a tough week with the bad weather that they had in Texas as well as Mississippi. And for him to show up, that just meant the world to him because he knows how important this is for Deion to be the head coach at HBCU. And unfortunately, there's some kind of issues going on with security because somehow Deion Sanders' belongings were stolen during the game. Someone was able to run off with his credit card and his wallet. Jackson State was fortunately able to secure those items back. But what's interesting is that Deion Sanders said, you know, his stuff was stolen, but then Jackson State just said, oh, it was misplaced when we were moving your things to a more secure location.
Yeah, well, this is their first time dealing with this high profile of a guy. You're talking about a guy who some people voted as the best football player, not just the best DB ever, the best football player ever.
Yes, and he has a case for best athlete ever too.
Yeah. He almost pulled off. He's the only guy who played in a Super Bowl and a World Series. And if the Atlanta Braves would have won that World Series, he would have been World Series MVP. That's how well he played in that series. But I think this is just going to be a lesson learned from them. They have a mega high-profile coach, a mega rich coach, and they just going to have to step their game up. We all 3 of us here went to a HBCU, and you know you kind of like chilling. It's not like you at Alabama or, you know, it's a little more relaxed on those type of things. Like you couldn't even get 100 feet close to Alabama's head coach.
Yeah.
So I think they're just going to up their protocols because now they got a whole nother level right now.
Yeah. The whole program, you know, has to elevate because, you know, when you got Troy Aikman showing up to games and, you know, it's just a sign of things to come.
That's right, man. But it's good news. And I like Deion. He was smart. He scheduled Cupcake City. What's the name of that team again?
Edward Waters College.
Yeah, he made sure they got a win. Yeah, but he wanted to start them off on the right note. That's a smart play by you know, scheduling the cupcake. But shout out to Edwards Waters College. I'm not hating on you and all your athletes, but you know, Jackson State is Jackson State.
Yeah, so then moving along to Cam Newton. So it's like a 2-part story. We'll start off with something a little light. Over the weekend, Cam Newton was in Charlotte giving back, having like a football camp for local high school students. Then some wise guy high schooler decides to heckle Cam Newton at his own football camp. And long story short, it went viral on Twitter. And the high school student, I'm paraphrasing, was just saying, "You're a free agent. Like, you're nothing. You're nothing." And Cam Newton, I think he handled the situation really well. He just let the guy talk, and then they talked a little bit after the game. And
no, he didn't just let that kid talk. He talked back to him.
No, he did talk to him. No, I'm just saying he didn't like try to like intimidate the guy. He was trying to really look for the parent, because I think he would have been more like, forceful with the parent. But then the student ended up apologizing on Twitter a couple days later after everybody on Twitter was just saying how disrespectful that young man was to Cam Newton, the Heisman Trophy winner, Super Bowl player.
Yeah, but Cam
crazy.
First was responding back to the kid. Cam was kind of going with it, kept saying, "I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich."
Right, yeah,
then
exactly.
he started saying, "Where your parent at? Where your dad at?"
Yeah.
So Cam ain't just ignore it. He gave him a little something back.
Yeah. Yeah, but I guess when I said like he handled it well, he didn't try to like, although the guy was belittling him, Cam Newton didn't belittle the guy. He just, said what he had to say.
Yeah, because the dude was like,
been,
16?
Yeah, he could have been uglier because, some people, their egos are very sensitive. So it was just nice to see that.
Yeah, it was nice to see. But that kid, he just was showing off for his boys. And, Cam won the Heisman, played in the Super Bowl, and he worth like $130 million. So the kid, he don't understand the real world yet, He will once he get out of mama's house. He gonna be like, man, I wish I was Cam Newton. All right, man. We had a great show, man.
Yeah, and then just another Cam Newton, back to Cam Newton, and he's gonna be a free agent technically in a couple weeks. He was on the I Am Athlete podcast, which is Chad Johnson and Brandon Marshall's podcast. And he was basically saying that he actually said a lot during that podcast. He said, it's no way that he should not be a quarterback next season in the NFL. He said there aren't 32 quarterbacks better than him who are playing right now in the NFL. He also said that the Patriots at that time were the best choice for him because the Panthers were too intimidated by him. And then he also said that after he got COVID, he was overthinking. And that's why he played so terrible after he recovered from COVID.
Yeah, well, I think he still should be in the league. What you think, Mike Burr?
Yeah, I think he should definitely still be in the league. I mean, it's a lot of quarterbacks that aren't as talented, and then just even if you only look at it from a business standpoint, I mean, he's still one of the most marketable household names. So, he should definitely be in the league. I don't think that's a question. The question is, could he start on a winning team? I think he could definitely start on a bad team like he did last year, but a playoff contender, that has yet to be seen.
Yeah, I wouldn't want him for my starter. I wouldn't mind having him as a backup.
I'll take him over Mitch Trubisky.
Oh, yeah, I guess you are right. I guess I would take him as a starter.
Cam can definitely start on the team with some of these quarterbacks right now. A lot of people think that he may go back to the Washington football team.
And they got on defense, they're set. And, they got some players on offense as well. If they had a quarterback, the big problem with him is turnovers. If he could just play well, not turn the ball over, with the team like Washington with a strong defense and playmakers, he really could make something happen.
Well, that's what all quarterbacks need to do, play well and not turn it over. I don't know if he could do that. And again, saying he could replace Mr. Trubisky doesn't mean I'm happy we got Cam Newton. But the point is, though, you're right. He can be a starter over some of the guys out there that's got a starting jersey.
Yeah.
And that's all I have for hot takes.
All right, man. Those were excellent. This has been a good podcast, y'all.
For sure.
We chopped it up.
Yep.
So, hey, everybody, check us out on all the social media. We on every single platform. Subscribe. When you subscribe, we call you a winner. Hit the like button. Hit us up in the comments. We always respond to people in the comments where we can. So we definitely want to hear from you. What you think, Mike Burr?
Yeah, make sure you subscribe and join us live on Clubhouse on Wednesdays at 8. And yeah, good show.
All right. April T, got anything else?
That's it.
Well, you know how we do it. It's been a fun time. See you next time because we got a lot more to talk about. And Mike Burr, drop the beat.